What is the first thing I do in the morning?
Yeah, like
I don't want to know.
that guy.
I get jumped. Somebody, I was going to say somebody jumps on my face, but I just
You
realized
get
that.
like a,
It's one of those toddlers. And it's Lindeque.
You can say Lindeque. If you want to do a little European, you can say Lindeque. There's many ways to say it. Say it.
Boom, ladies and gentlemen, guess who's back? Yes. I mean, you obviously knew because you've clicked this episode to watch, but it is in fact us. Welcome back to another episode of How's Life with Themba and Bouwer. Themba and Bouwer.
We'll figure that. Still figuring out.
Still figuring it out.
Episode 9, wherever we are now. Don't know whose name come first. We'll fight it out later.
Yeah. Anyways, we're not going to hold back. Time to roll those credits. Lekker.
Let me just keep this in, this awkward, like, waiting for the credits. On today's show, we have a legend, South African legend.
Absolutely so.
Spreads good news, spreads vibes.
Yeah.
Very attractive guy, got his hair cut, got his beard trim. He's looking all stylish over here. He's got 3 different surnames.
Yeah, so we're going to do them all in every way that he's heard them. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise. For Mr. Brent Lindeque, Lindeque.
Well, that's all of them. That's
the 3.
That's how I've heard them pronounced. I'm sure there are other people in other parts of the world that might say them differently, and I might feel that they're butchering it. But yeah, Lindeque, as Mia Lindeque from EWN would say.
I studied with Mia. Me and Mia were good friends in varsity. Shout out Mia.
Well, Mia's not a relation to me. We do share the same surname, and I do often laugh when I hear her because she's very Lindeque and I'm very Lindeque. And it's sort of how we roll.
So I remember the first time I met you, and then you said to me, "No, it's Lindeque." And then I met a chap a couple of weeks later, and then he made me say Lindeque or something, and I was like, "This is all very confusing for me."
Look, it is. It's a very unique surname, I think, especially in the context of South Africa.
Yeah.
But we own it. You know, call me whatever you want as long as you call me. I'll be here.
Can you say Kleberge?
No, that's terrible, and I'm not going to try.
I can't even say it.
You know that I do. So I've got a couple of features that I do on radio now, and I was reporting a story from Kleberge, and I said it terribly. I'd like it literally. It just, when you practice something so much, and then you get to the point where you have to do it, and then it just doesn't happen the way you want it to.
It's a build up, and you're running through the sentence, and the words go in,
and I can see it,
and you hit and miss.
So just say it again for me.
Kleberge.
So it's in the front.
Kleberge. Yeah. Although maybe I'm not the best person to be coaching everyone, but okay, Brent. So number one question that we have on the show, of course, for those of you guys who don't know, Brent is Mr. Good Things guy, but we brought you on to the show today to ask you, Brent, how's life?
How's life? Life is good on some days, and on other days not so much. I think for everybody, being in the good news space puts me sort of at the forefront of where South Africa is from a sentiment point of view, which is very interesting. So before we started rolling, we were talking about what you do, the first thing you do in the morning.
Yeah.
And I've got this thing, I've been doing this for 10 years now that I've been in this space. And I've got this obsessive thing that I do when I wake up in the morning. Yeah. Before I reach for my phone to doom scroll, before I sort of go get that cup of coffee or whatever I'm doing, I grab my phone and I go into the back end of the website. It's obsessive. So it has become a little bit creepy, I think. I can see exactly what people are reading throughout the day, down to the second. And for me, it's a great sort of great look into where we are as a country.
Yeah.
Because when things are good, when the headlines are lekker, when the sun is shining, when we don't have load shedding, we're happy. We're a happier nation. And when we're happier, we are more open to good news. Yeah. So our readership booms. That's when I know the country's in a good space.
Yeah.
But come a bad headline, something that makes us angry, and I see a huge dip in our readership.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, how's life? Life is okay sometimes and sometimes not so much okay. On a daily basis, our sentiment as a country, including me, even as the good things guy, is impacted by what's going on around us. So how's life today? Today, it's lekker. Ask me tomorrow and I don't know so much.
But is it difficult for you to, like, with comedians sometimes they're like, hey man, make me a joke. Like for you to not feel great one day and be honest about it and not be positive.
He has a level of honesty. In the beginning of my career, before I knew it was a career, so like I was doing this thing and I was writing these good news stories, and somehow I got put into a box. So like a comedian, you're in a box. Stay in your box, whatever that box is. Like maybe as a comedian you can branch out and you can be political and but stay in the box. You got to be funny. You can't branch outside of that. Yeah. And my box very quickly became, you got to be inspirational. You got to be motivational. You got to be the good news guy. Got to be that guy. Like you got to give us the good news all the time. And that's exactly what I did. So we know we use our social media. It's an extension of who we are. Yeah. And my social media in the early days became this safe space for people to be inspired by or on. I wake up after I've doom scrolled, or after I've checked my stats, then I doom scroll a little bit, and then I formulate my inspirational post for the day, where I sit and I write a War and Peace novel. My writing is always long. I really get into it, the meat of it. And I did that for a really long time, even on my bad days. So on my bad days, I'd be like, today's gonna be a really good day. Here's why. I'm gonna motivate you. And it was during the pandemic, and I hate calling it COVID, right? Because that just brings back so much PTSD. I think we haven't dealt with the trauma that we went through during that time. I call it Kofifi. That's a bit better. So
pandemic. getting in all the theories
and the conspiracies.
So during that time, I'd really ramped up that people wanted to be inspired by the good things guy. Yeah. So I had to bring it every single day. And it was exactly on day 80 when, for some reason, I scrolled through my social media, and there were maybe maximum 2 people in my sort of common friendship group that were leaving the country on expatriation flights to go to Europe. So they were on that KLM flight getting out of here. And they were both hairstylists. And I took to Twitter, which we know can be very toxic. Yeah. Especially when we have Kofifi and the world's falling apart and we can't leave our houses and it's day 80 and no one can work. Like we still couldn't work on day 80. Yeah. Everything was closed. And I took to Twitter and I used the worst words. I said, so many people the word so many is already problematic. I was like, so many people are leaving on these flights because they just can't work, these hairstylists, and I feel so bad for them. I think it was also at the time the minister told us that we need to do our hair over Zoom. I don't know if you remember that. Oh, wow. Like how?
It's one of those gems.
I've just been for a haircut. I can't do this myself. But Twitter was not very happy with me, and it sort of spiraled into a really, really terrible, terrible moment in my life. I had toxic Twitter all over me. And it first started off going, what people? What hairstylists? Yeah. Who are these like who? And what flights? There's no flights. Obviously, I work in the news. I know there's expatriation flights going. Yeah. And how did they get passports? And how did they get visas? And are they privileged? And all these things just happened. And then it turned into this, you're a liar. You just want clicks. And it's like became this really horrible thing. And for the first time in my life, like I'm very thankful that my mental health, I'm very privileged and lucky that my mental health is pretty good. Yeah, like I'm very blessed most of the time. But on day 80 in the year 2020 of our Lord, I had a complete anxiety attack, complete breakdown. I couldn't control my thoughts, which is so weird. Yeah. Like I couldn't grab hold of it. And luckily, my partner Andrew, he was watching from the outside, going, "It's just a tweet." like calm down. And so he deleted the tweet, because you can also do that. People don't know that you can do that. But if you said something terrible and you feel terrible about it, you can delete it. So he deleted it. He put my account on private, and I think he put me to, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. He put me to bed with a glass of wine. He was like, "We'll get through this. It'll be okay."
Andrew sounds lovely.
He's such a great guy. And the next day when I surfaced, it must have been a couple of days later, because it really did. I mean, I joke about it, but it was a real panic attack. It was a moment in my life that I'd lost control. And when I surfaced out of that, I realized how incredibly irresponsible I'd been with my social media platforms, and how I'd created this facade that you can be happy all the time and that things are always lacquer. And for a follower, for a person that was following me or is following me, that's unobtainable. How irresponsible of me. And any sort of motivational person that's out there, it's ridiculous to think that happiness all the time. It's not
sustainable.
No. So from that day forth, I decided to make it known that when I'm having a cuck day, you're going to know about it. And if
I'm having a cuck day, you're
going to have a cuck day. There's no motivation here today. I'm feeling terrible. And I've been, since that 4 years ago, I've been very open and honest about my emotions, when my up days are, when my down days are. And I think it's made me more relatable. I think from people that follow me, they can see, and it's not self-pity. I'm not going, today I'm having a terrible day, I need self-pity. Like yesterday, I mean, whenever this podcast comes out, it's not going to be yesterday, it'll be a couple of days ago. But yesterday, it would have been 4 years, a friend of mine had committed suicide. And that for me, it was a really terrible day yesterday. The whole day, I try to avoid his Facebook, because everybody's going to go on and be like, "We really miss you," and all that heartbreak. And I did. I made it through the day until like 5:30, and I was like, I really miss him. And I went to go look, and then I was all heartbroken and very sad. And I took to social media to go, "I'm really sad. I'm really sad." But here's the thing: I don't want you to be sad. I want you to check in on your peeps. Because that's how we make this situation better. So there we go. I hope I've answered whatever question you asked.
Well, I mean, I think it is that it's, you have a responsibility.
Dropping.
No, this is stupid mic stuff. But you sort of
look, we're talking about that sort of responsibility, and it's quite a thing to take on that I think a lot of people don't realize. And I was watching a documentary on Ellen the other day, and they had the whole Be Kind thing, and she just had a segment. I mean, regardless of what anybody thinks about her, whatever, but she was saying, I'm saying she had the whole thing. It was like she could be upset with anyone in traffic or something, because we were like, "You said be kind," So as soon as you have like a brand identity with something like super positive and stuff, it gets interesting. And like, even with the two of us, we make quite a lot of content, which is, a little poke fun at the government and stuff. And now we've got the GNU in the space, and we actually would like the guys to do well. So we kind of, you sit back and you go, well, we can't really be
How are we going to play this?
But what is tough with social media is to post the days that's not going well. Like, to post the times when you cry, or when you just had a fight with your partner.
Have you ever posted anything like that?
No, because it feels like what goes through my mind is like, why do I want to show people that I just cried? So I go through that debate, like, people don't care. And also, why do you want to do this? But it's also like, if you share the good times, you need to share the bad times.
Well, I think the challenge, I'm going to call it a challenge, because what is a challenge? It's an opportunity, right? The challenge with social media is that it became this thing quite quickly where we show the best of ourselves. Think of Instagram. Like, Instagram is only pretty pictures. You want to put the pretty pictures up. You want to create, now that it's moved into this real space, which is like a fake TikTok, actually. You can quote me on that.
That's the clip for social media.
You heard it,
Anything that happens on TikTok, you will find on Reels 2 weeks later. Like, it's sort of how it rolls. But now that they're in that real space, you want to put up the best content. You want to get the clicks. You want to get the likes. You want to do all of those things. So social media has become this facade of who we are. It's the best of who we are. And I think if we do choose to, and we don't have to, this is not a note-taking session. But if you do choose to show your true self and you do show your vulnerabilities, yes, when you quote Nelson Mandela, you know you're a keynote speaker. So when we let our own light shine, we give others the ability to do the same, right?
Yeah.
And also that quote doesn't actually come from him. He used it. It comes from someone else. But the point is that's what we could use our social media for. And that really could help each other through this journey of life.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff you share, you're probably one of the pages just on Facebook that gets the most shared in South Africa. Is insane because people like to share good news.
Yeah.
The others share the terrible cash in transit video or like some negative thing, or it's like the most positive, uplifting
But I must
thing.
tell you what's bloody astounding is that even people that follow us, like you know when you're on Facebook and you become like a top follower, you get that badge. I'm a top follower. Even if people have been following us for so long and they've got a badge that says top follower, they'll see some sort of good news story that's really trending, that's like out of this world good news. And they'll be like, finally, some good news in our country. And I'll be like, we write 15 stories a day and you follow us. How did you forget that this is what we do? It's very sweet.
So look, man, I think just on a quick note on that, so the vulnerability and the honesty kind of thing. We had the snow thing now, and I think just by virtue of being a South African, I like snow. That's funny. And then you hear about everybody getting trapped in the snow, and I was like, South Africans' biggest problem. We're like, you brought us load shedding, all these things. Like we beat them, and like snow is going to be like the one thing that really gets in our way. And then I read your post about your parents, and that actually for one thing, like it took me back a notch because I'm like, like I clearly not understood the magnitude.
Well, I don't think anybody did, right? So I need to preface this. My dad, he passed away like 13 years ago. It was really sudden, malaria. He went to Mozambique on holiday, had the best holiday. He drank gin and what goes with gin?
Tonic.
Like the tonic. Because tonic is a great way to keep the mosquitoes away. So like gin and tonic, it's going to be fun. No, it's not. He got bitten by a mosquito. What? He came back to South Africa and he got sick. And 2 days later he died. Like that's how quick it was. Yeah. So that's what I'm prefacing with because my brother and I have got real trauma from that. Yeah. Losing a parent is cuck. Losing a parent quickly is even worse, I think. That's my opinion. And so when my mom and my stepdad, who I call my dad, and it's confusing because when I call him my dad on social media, they're like, didn't your dad die? I'm like, well, I got two dads.
Told you, Sandra, he's a liar.
Like, it's so confusing. so my mom and my dad, they're all I have.
Yeah.
And so I hold on to them with like, I want to wrap them in cotton wool to make sure that they're just going to be there forever, which I know they won't, but you want them to. And my brother's exactly the same. So I was in Bulgaria for work. I went there for a talk, and then I had some stuff planned in London. So I flew over to London, and it was my friend's 40th birthday. He'd rented this beautiful manor house in the countryside. Have you seen Saltburn?
Yeah.
It was just like Saltburn. Yeah, Themba, you need to watch it. But just this was the beautiful manor house without all the weird stuff.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So I feel like my first experience watching Saltburn is gonna be weird.
It's gonna be so different. You're gonna be like, Brent.
It's like It's like if you get Buckingham Palace off of Temu. Or Wish. It's like it's pretty. It's pretty, but it's not.
So we had this beautiful manor house, and I arrived on the Friday night, and we were drinking champagne and having the best night. Seeing all my friends that I haven't seen in a long time from all around the world had all come to this manor house to have this great birthday. We were there for the weekend, and I'd had a bit of it was really quite strenuous in Bulgaria. So at about midnight on Friday, I said, guys, it's been real. We've got the whole weekend to spend time with each other. I'm going to go to bed. And off I went to bed, and at about 6 a.m, I woke up and went to my phone to check my stats. And there was a message from my brother, and he was like, phone me immediately. Mom and dad are stuck in the snow, and it's really bad. We need a helicopter. Yeah. And I was like, rubbing that out of your eyes, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And I phoned my brother, and because of my father's death, he was like in a panic attack. And he said to me, it's weird. as kids, you get to a point where you think your parents aren't capable anymore, and you kind of think that you have to be the parent now. And I think that's what happened in this situation. And he said they're stuck in that situation and they're okay now, but it's going to get to a point where they're not going to be okay. And then how do we get them out? Like, I think it's the unknown that was so fearful. So my folks are driven. They are busy retiring to Pennington. They're selling their house in Joburg. And because of that, they've moved a lot of their stuff to Pennington already, which means they don't pack bags when they go down. At the moment, they're spending like 50% of their time in Joburg, 50% of their time in Pennington. And so my dad was in shorts and flip-flops with no clothes. And luckily, when my mom left Pennington last time, she'd grabbed the duvet, because like they're there, and she was like, "Oh, need to wash the duvet. It'll be whatever." So she grabbed it when she left Pennington. So they had a duvet with them, thankfully. Also, being as only parents would, because I wouldn't do this, but when they were leaving the Joburg house, my mom was like, "Oh, we're going for like 2 weeks. The fruit's gonna go off." So she grabbed like the fruit bowl, and so they had 2 bananas, 2 apples, and 2 pears.
Sure.
No water. Nothing else to eat. And on the Friday night, they'd driven down. On Friday afternoon, they'd driven down. There was an accident, which means that it slowed them down. So they were on it's like a bad, what is it? A airplane crash is 27 things going wrong. So it wasn't one thing, right? A crash slowed them down. They were then sort of on Van Rieden's Pass. It was just them in a truck, and they started sliding on the road. Like, our cars are not made for that. So my dad pulled over. And he was like, "We're just going to sit and wait a while, figure it out. It'll be fine." And as they pulled over, the snow just came down.
Sure.
Absolutely came down. My dad said when he tried to open the door to the car, the snow sort of came into the car, shorts and flip-flops, and it came up to his crotch. Sure. Like, that's how much snow had fallen. So that night, they didn't eat anything. They sort of went to bed and slept, didn't let anybody know. They just were like, "We're on the side of the road, we'll figure it out." And at some point in the early hours of the morning, they let my brother know. And then they had their little breakfast, their little fruit salad. They tried to drink the snow. Not possible. I mean, it doesn't melt as quickly as you think.
It's not a Bear Grylls episode. It doesn't work.
And so they spent the day, and I spent the day in London trying to get help. I was sort of phoning anybody and everybody that I knew. I put it out. That post that I put up on social media was also the first time I'd sort of gone, I don't know why I'm putting this up, but if anybody can help in any way, I'll be really thankful. I don't know what I'm asking for, but just if there's any help. And I somehow got linked up to a first responder on Twitter. I still don't know his real name.
Sure.
His name is Canine Reaper.
I don't know if I would, dear Mr. Canine Reaper.
Can we just have a discussion? But he got into contact with me, and he spent that whole day forwarding me comms from all the responders on site.
Sure.
And it was the greatest thing for us as a family, because I was forwarding it to our family group, and it just gave so much hope. So it was literally like the emergency services are 18 hours away from your parents. It was like that.
But just an update helped.
Just an update. So my parents had the little fruit salad. My mom kept a pear just in case. You never know how long it's gonna go on for. And they sat the whole of Saturday. I don't know what they did in the car. Chatted, I guess. I mean, they spend all their time together. So I don't know how much more they could have chatted about. And about 8 o'clock that night, they decided to go to bed. They were like, "We're going to spend another night here, is what it is." And I mean, they haven't eaten and drank since the morning, or they haven't drank anything the whole day. There was a bottle of whiskey that my dad had, and my mom was like, "Just drink it." And he's like, "But what if we need to drive?" Like, can't do that. So they didn't touch the whiskey. And they went to bed at about 8, and then my dad was waking up every 2 hours and starting the car to keep the car a little bit warm. And he woke up at about 10 because it got cold, and started the car. And at about 10:30, 11:15, he was sort of snuggling in to go back to bed. My mom was fast asleep, and he saw the lights in the distance of the emergency, sort of the graders, the emergency, the convoy that was following. And then they sort of joined the convoy, got saved. The charity that was there gave them a curry, which my mom says was the best curry she's ever eaten in her life, and water. And when I spoke to them the next day, they were like, "Our story's not unique." There were so many people stuck out there. Like, they were alone. They weren't with the other cars. But I don't think they'd understood the gravity of what had happened to them. And when I arrived back in South Africa, the U magazine wanted to interview them. So I said to my parents, like, do you want to be in the U? And I'll tell you this. So when I went viral 10 years ago with RAK Nominations and all the rest, I was on CNN and BBC and Sky News, and I don't want to say Ellen featured me because she's not cool anymore. So I've removed that out of my out of my thing. But I was on all these like big mainstream things, and my mom never believed that it was greater than what it was until I was in the U.
Yeah.
Like that was the pinnacle of my career, was the U. So for her to be in the U is like big news. And she was a little bit nervous. So I sat in on the interview just via Zoom. And when my parents were retelling the story and my dad started crying, I realized then that they were realizing the trauma that they'd been through.
Yeah.
It's not normal to sit in a car for 30 hours, not knowing if anybody's going to come save you. So yeah, it was traumatic.
There's a big element, like just touching on that, like you mentioned mental health and that bravery, and then being asked questions. Like we've spoken once or twice, I think, like about going to therapy and stuff. And I tried going to therapy like once or twice, and the latest like attempt at it. The psychologist asked me a question, and then I just cried. And I was like, screw that, I'm not going to therapy anymore.
I'm not doing this anymore. This is not for me. I'm out.
Those floodgates are closed and locked forever.
But isn't it funny though? We in general we don't like crying. We don't like to cry in front of the people we know and we love. Yeah. But then you pay a psychiatrist the amount. The moment you walk in there, you start crying in front of a stranger.
You're paying them not to tell anyone that.
Listen,
you're crying.
friends, I'm going to give you some advice, and this you will write down.
Yeah,
crying is a necessity.
Yeah.
And I do it as much as possible. Obviously, I get to read all these incredible stories that give me happy tears.
Yeah.
But a couple of years ago, I found out that our tears, I think we have 3 different types of tears.
I didn't even know that.
3 different types of tears.
Thought it was all weakness.
No weakness.
Every tear is
Wait
weakness.
till I tell you about the best
diesel.
kind. The best kind. So you've got one, your main tear that you will have on a daily basis lubricates the eye. So that's like, it just keeps going and it keeps that eye nice and moist, which is not a word that we should use, but we will for this example.
All intents and purposes.
Yeah, so that's that tier. Then the second tier that our eye creates is a little bit thicker, and that's to remove things, like if something, a little bit of sand gets stuck in your eye,
cleansing.
Gets rid of it. The best tier we have, is the sad tier. And the reason for that is it's filled with natural painkillers. No joke. So as you cry and those tears go down your cheeks absorb a painkiller. You need to cry more. It's so good for you.
I'm all for biology, and I think there's lots of things about humans that work really well. But making me excrete the liquid and then absorb it back through my cheeks is a little bit of a tall order. Could you have not just put it in the
painkillers in? Just done it inside.
Feels like I need to have a talk with my medical aid. I need to cut my monthly. But wait, tell the RAK nomination story. Is that how it started with you 10 years ago?
Do you remember RAK Nomination?
Yeah. What is it about? I nominate you to drink.
You drink as much as you can.
Okay.
So it was the.
But did you start that?
No. What do you? This is the good things guy.
I was being called the Brent Nomination.
The Brent Nomination. So RAK Nomination started in Australia.
Okay.
In Australia, in their lingo, because they got lots of things that they say. What do they call a cooler box? Is a icy or something like
like a bakkie is a ute.
They got all these names for things.
Wow.
And so to neck something is to down a drink. If you're in a bar and you see someone, you like, mate, neck it. Then you got to down that drink. And so these crazy Australians started this. I mean, not all Australians are crazy. So if you're watching, I love Australia, love you. But some crazy Australians started this trend to drink as much as you possibly could. It sort of snowballed into this thing where you then had to do something stupid or brave or maybe a trick like skateboarding down a hill while downing a bottle of gin, whatever it was. You had to do this thing. And then you had to look at the camera and go, Brent,
I nominate.
Frikkie, you're nominated, or whatever it is.
And if you're nominated, it's on. There's no escaping it.
It's on. So there were millions of these videos being uploaded online. And it's so crazy to think that was just a decade ago. It was in 2014. I mean, it started in 2013, but really took traction in that January 2014. And the only place you could post video 10 years ago was YouTube. There was not a single other place online where you could put video. Not at all. And so all these videos were being uploaded, and I was watching this from South Africa, and I had 2 real trains of thought. The first was like, why would you put something so stupid online? I mean, a lot of people do it now on TikTok.
Just look at TikTok. It's like only stupid content.
It's a lot of things. But for me, I thought like at the time I had my own company, but career-wise, think of owning a business. If someone applies for a job at a company, 99% of the time, they're going to be Googled. Someone's going to Google you, and what is your legacy online? Like if you look at some of these NEC nominations, there were people that were half naked, upside down, drinking beer out of a toilet bowl. It was bad.
I need to
I
take
know
my
me.
NEC nomination video down.
Do you have a NEC nomination video up?
It's somewhere.
Take it down. Take it down. So I know me, right? I am a hooligan. At the time, 10 years ago, my Twitter handle was Razzle Monster. I mean, that just says it all.
Tells us enough.
It tells you enough about who I was. I enjoyed drinking. At that time, you would have found me at Billy the Bums on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and sometimes even Saturdays and Sundays. Like, I loved jolling. So it was easy for me. So my first thought was like, why would people put this online? And the second was, social media was so young back then. How old was it? 12 years, 10 years, whatever it was. Why weren't we using it to just be lekker? Like just help people's journeys in this life be easier. And so it was a Friday. I got to my office. I opened up my computer. Because again, 10 years ago, the only place you could get Facebook was online. You couldn't get it on your phone.
Wow.
So I opened up, maybe you could on BlackBerry, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was a BlackBerry.
So I opened up my computer and there was a NEC nomination from like a mate who had done something as equally dumb, and he'd looked at me and gone, "You're nominated." And I thought to myself, what do I do? Like, do I join the trend? Everybody's doing it. How can you not?
Peer pressure.
Pure pressure. And I decided, you know what, let me try and do something a little bit different. So I grabbed a work colleague and we went to our fruit and veg city down the road, and I got an extra, I'd bought myself a sandwich, a chocolate and a cold drink, and I got an extra sandwich, a chocolate and a cold drink. And I drove to the first intersection through my phone at my colleague Nikki. I said, capture this, and I gave the meal to a person on the side of the road that was begging. And I got to my desk and I registered a YouTube. I had to register a YouTube, and I uploaded this video. And I still remember at the time feeling so doff. I was like, you really are stupid. Like this global trend, people are having so much fun, and here's you trying to, I don't know, feed a homeless person. And I uploaded the video, and within a couple of seconds, maybe a couple of minutes, it shot to 301 views. I remember that number specifically. I thought I'd made it. I was like, 301. What are you talking about?
Boom.
When is Hollywood going to call?
Phone the U magazine. Tell them.
Phone the U magazine. This is it. What I didn't know at the time, and I'd only find it out later, is 10 years ago, we didn't have the technology that we do now. So when something started going viral on YouTube, YouTube as a platform froze the number 301. And then they would wait until to verify that it wasn't anything untoward or copyrighted or whatever it was. And then the number would sort of be where it needed to be. And I know this number sounds small now when I say it, because like, again, TikTok, I think the highest TikTok I have is like 3.5 million views. And that's for drinking, just by the way. That's for drinking. How the circle has turned. So I got to a friend's birthday dinner that night, and she just said to me, Brenty, I'm so proud of you. I can't believe your videos had 10,000 views. And I can't believe that people around the world have started to change their NEC nomination into a RAK nomination. And that's when the Random Acts of Kindness movement was born in South Africa. The next day I woke up and the video had hundreds and thousands of views, and there were all these international numbers, missed calls. And Hollywood had phoned. Like it was crazy. CNN flew out with a crew to do an African Voices like little documentary on me. For like 3 days, I had 3 cameras on me, and they followed me around. They took me to my hometown. They wanted to understand like what I'd done to be this guy. I was like, I'm just a guy. Like there's nothing great about me. I will say though, producers know how to get the content that they want. In the first day, they didn't feed me the whole day. So by like 5 o'clock, I was crying on camera for no reason. And they were like, this is the content we want. We want you in tears.
We want you hungry and crying. Let's go.
But yeah, that's really where Good Things Guy was born. I was thrust into the space with me. I'd never been in media. I'd never been behind a mic before. And I think it happened it was a Friday that it all sort of went viral that night. And the weekend was a little bit bizarre. And on Monday morning, I was at 7:02 on the John Robbie show. He said my surname wrong in that 3-minute interview. I think he said it wrong like 9 different times. It was very, very interesting for me. I was like, why are you getting my surname wrong? But from there, I was in this space where I was on TV and gosh, I think it was like on the Wednesday or Thursday, I had to go somewhere in Auckland Park into a really, really rundown studio. Like the stairs were falling apart and it felt really dodgy, and got up to the studio and there were these 2 massive, larger than life cameras that were on me, and it was really late at night and I was really tired, and there was like a glass panel because all the producers were that side, and they put a little thing in my ear, and on the other side it was, "Good morning from Australia. How's it going?" Like it was just the craziest time. It was the craziest time. And yeah, that's where the seed, I guess, was planted. All that stuff that was happening was cool. It was cool to be in that space. But because I was in this space, and for the first time in what could feel like forever, a good news story from South Africa was trending around the world. There were all these human beings, businesses, charities that were contacting me to tell me about their good news. And I was like, whoa. Why does nobody know about what you're doing? Like, why does nobody know about these good news stories that are happening? And that's where the seed was planted to start telling those stories.
Is it difficult to find good news in a country on a daily basis? 15 stories, did you say? Or more or less?
15.
Yeah. Is it difficult to find 15 per day in a country like South Africa?
10 years ago, yes. 10 years ago was really tough. So Good Things Guy is 9 years old. So what had happened from there is I got a show on Cliff Central. I started featuring this good news on a weekly basis, and that was easy. In interviewing one charity on a weekly basis, simple like that. Although I must tell you, the first show I ever did was probably the cuckest piece of content that lives out there. I had no idea what I was doing. It was so bad. But I grew in that space, and I sort of sponged off everybody that was around me. Gareth Cliff is a maverick in what he does, and just being able to learn from him was phenomenal. And in that first year, that's when I really launched Good Things Guy, because I was reporting on every week. I was like, here's 5 good things that are happening around the world. My show was broken into like a real radio show. So the first 15 minutes was top 5 good things happening. Then it was the interview. Then it was like another interview. So it was broken down that way. And because I was searching for these good news stories, I was like, whoa, they need to live somewhere else too. Like we need to be featuring these stories, I don't know, on a website, and that's how it was born. When I started, I said to myself, only good news from South Africa, 1 story a day, 7 days a week. That was the plan. Very quickly, I learned that I couldn't find that story every day. And it wasn't because they weren't there. It was because the hard news was so loud that it didn't give space for good news to be shared. And it took, some days I had to really dig deep. Some days I was like, well, because there's nothing happening in South Africa today, here's a great story from Paraguay. Like it was just, it was really tough. Fast forward to where we are now, and our inbox overflows. I do not have a problem. I've got 4 journalists that are working at Good Things Guy that are reporting on the good news every single day. We have an editorial meeting every morning, not with me, with my editor. I'm just on the peripheral. I'm sort of watching, making sure everything's going the way it should. And we are not lost for content at all. The good news in this country, it overflows. And it's so beautiful to uncover those stories, to write about them. I mean, we've featured you two so many times.
No, dude, when you featured us, we're like, we've made it.
I'm your you. I'm your you. No, but I mean, so that's the reality as well, is that good news can also come in the form of laughter. And laughter is so important in a country that has got so many challenges. We are a great nation that know how to laugh, but sometimes, many a time, we have to be reminded of that. And that's what you two do. And many other comedians around the country, as you give South Africans the ability to laugh in the face of tragedy.
But I think what's super cool about the platform that you've built is you've taken all those people who are looking for good vibes, and you've taken, because that's the whole conundrum, I think, is that we don't know how to find it. While you're sifting through, you're looking for something positive, and you're just like negative. And then we're like, hey, we made a funny thing that we'd love to share with people. People are like, I don't want to be made laugh. I don't want to laugh today. Like, go away. And what you've created is this perfect spot where, you know, especially when you share one of our videos, which we super appreciative of. Thank you. I'm always chuffed, and I always take a screenshot. I'm like, we made it. But, you know, all the people are going, I'm looking for a laugh, and I'm in this positive space, and we're making or hoping to make people laugh and put them in a positive space. And we're all meeting at the Good Things Guy. And it's
nice. What's been an incredible thing is it was around about 2019 that I realized this is so much bigger than me.
Yeah.
Mainstream media websites started to use our content.
Sure.
That's great.
It's
you became breaking news.
It's the craziest thing to now see. I'll sometimes get journalists or editors that will contact me and be like, can we get the telephone number for this person?
Nice.
Because you've broken the story. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just take the story and they're like, we're going to be inspired by this and we're going to write our own version, which is fine as well. The more good news that is out there, the better.
Yeah.
But it was in 2019 that it was cemented in my mind that this gift that the world has given me, that the universe gave, it wasn't me. It all sort of fell into place.
Yeah.
But this thing that I have created is now creating real change within News 24 has got 26 million subscribers or something stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's creating real change in those spaces.
Yeah.
And when we can start to change the narrative of our country from a fearful one to a hopeful one to a one that laughs to a one that's happy. Imagine the things we can do. I mean, when GNU came in, we were all like, yay!
Yeah.
Let's go!
And we still, I mean, I think we've asked this question a couple of times, but we said there is just, and yes, it's off the back of winning. We're very good at rugby. Like, that is a pinnacle of being South African. Like, as long as we're good at rugby and we've got Bulldog and stuff, like, I feel like
we'll be okay.
Like we'll be fine. But there definitely is an air of positivity in the air. Like, there's almost sense of everyone's leaving and we're on this dooms train. Like, listen,
it's not there anymore.
Yeah, there's a part of you that always says, listen, be vigilant kind of thing. But things don't feel as panicky and.
But I mean, just the fact that load shedding stopped, that's one part of your day that's because you had headspace. Oh, flip, 6 hours. Okay, I need to time 2 hours there. Now that's gone.
Yeah.
Immediately there's a little bit of lighter
I'll
weight.
make supper whenever I want.
Yeah. Guess what? I can work 8 to 5 today. But there's a little weight off your shoulder.
So, and that's not just a conversation.
Yeah.
There is data to prove it.
Yeah.
So the University of Johannesburg have got this incredible thing called the Index of Happiness. And they've been studying the country. So I think it's 3 countries that have come together, 3 universities, New Zealand, England, and South Africa, UJ. And they measure the level of happiness of all 3 of those countries.
Yeah.
Not against each other, but with the knowledge and skills that they have so that they're able to do it. They take every single online conversation, be it social media, be it in the news, they gather all that data and they plot it onto a graph that shows how happy we are as a nation. And pre-GNU, I love GNU.
Yeah.
Pre-GNU, we had been like on a steady decline for 5 or 6 years of just total unhappiness.
Yeah.
And there's various reasons for that. Load shedding, a huge one. The impact that load shedding had on our psyche as a nation was disgusting.
Yeah.
It was harrowing.
People's businesses,
just life.
Yeah.
Not being able to cook, like we laugh about it now, but not being able to cook dinner.
Yeah.
Or have the lights on. Or watch The Simpsons at 6 o'clock.
Well, we didn't have Mnet in any case. So that's all I was missing out.
My Kitchen Rules, not on that. You couldn't watch it. So there was a lot of sadness that was happening. And after GNU, there was a spike in our happiness. And I'm not talking like election day or the next day. It just, as it unfolded, our happiness steadily went up. And some days it goes down. If you go look at the graph now, it goes up and down. But we are on a steady and beautiful and hopeful way up. Yeah. And it's just a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, I think there's a thing, I call it bribe politics, and we need to stop doing this bribe politics thing. I mentioned sitting with Dr. Franz Crenier, and he put up a presentation the other day, and it's the first time I've ever seen data to back up anything that anybody said. Like,
sorry, did he put up the data at a bribe?
No. He's a very straightforward guy. He comes with his chart.
Excuse me with my PowerPoints.
Yeah, can I move the salad for my whiteboard?
Although we do need someone like that who just corrects people at a braai, who goes, Sandra, that's nonsense. No, But like, we looked at all these stats, and like, he's like, yeah, in this year, the money did this and that, and it was definitely decline here. He's like, but if you look at this and that, it shows a positivity here. And I'm going, didn't know about that. I didn't know about half the positives in an economic sense. So yeah, getting your data from places is you got to be careful about where you get your data and what you fill your mind with.
Here's the other side of that social media thing where it can be a little bit distorting to how you see the world, is that you can literally find absolutely anything on the internet that'll make your reality true.
The echo chamber.
Well, you can go, that guitars are fake and they're used to listen in on our conversations. And I can tell you now, you can Google and there'll be something.
Someone's written an article on it. So listen, we touched briefly on the fact that you're from Four Ways.
Now.
I just assumed because you went to Billy's so much, you might as well live it for.
From my hometown. Alberton. I'm a South boy.
I would just sound for Four Ways.
I am a South boy through and through, and I'm so proud of my roots.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of where I grew up and where I came from. I do sometimes laugh and say the best thing to come out of Alberton is that highway, just to sort of leave. But my folks, they're selling their house now, but it's still there. My brothers live there. I've still got lots of friends there.
So was Four Ways a choice? Or was it a dare?
I kind of feel like
did you lose a dare?
You're being a little bit judgmental.
I'll tell you.
North Cliff for life.
So it was progressive, right? I finished school. I dropped out of varsity on registration week.
Is that even allowed? Like, I feel like they'd bring you back. Like,
I'm done.
First ball grace.
It sounds like you didn't get in, to be honest.
No, I got in.
If it's first week of registration week and you didn't come in, I don't think you can tell people you dropped out.
No, it's part of my story. So I got to registration week, and leaving school, it's hard to think back now. I know I look 29, but I'm a lot older, so it's been many years. So when you are 17, 18, and you're going into this new space, it's very daunting.
Yeah.
And for me, the hardest thing was signing up for one thing.
Yeah.
I had to literally go, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. This is it. Like, you're going to study this. Yeah. And at the time, I didn't want to study that. I didn't feel like that was my path in life. It was just a general BCom, but I was like, it's not what I want to do. So I sat my parents down and I said to them, I don't think this is going to be good for you or for me. It's going to be a terrible year. Like, rather give me a gap year. Let me figure it out. I'll come back stronger than I was before. So they allowed me to do that. And then I spent, I think, 3 or 4 months at UJ in the student center drinking.
I'm trying to figure out how this is going to loop back to Four Ways.
I'm going to tell you. And then eventually my dad was like, you need to get off your ass. You need to do something. Like this. I was working at the time. I was working for a wedding venue in Alberton, but which I'm a wedding planner. I mean, that's what I started. That was my career. Started my career. Not that I'd want to do that now. But I did do it then. It was good fun, and I made loads of money. Like at 18 years old, I was making more money than most of my friends working in the wedding industry. And so I drank it all up in the student center. Weird that I didn't do the RAK nomination thing, right? But eventually my dad said to me, you need to do something. And I got an opportunity to go to America to go work there. So I went for it was like almost 2 years that I worked in the States. And when I got back, I'd realized the world was so much bigger than Alberton.
Yeah.
So much bigger. I still remember I took a day off New York, and I took a day off work, and I went to New York for the first time. And I was standing in Times Square, and it was so big, and I was so small. And I was like, there's so much more to the world than what I knew.
Yeah.
So I came back to South Africa. I started studying. I actually did then. I did a marketing degree. Also dropped out year 3.
This was registration. Made it past registration.
I lived in Melville at the time. Melville in its heyday was the best. I used to jewel and in sort of 7th Avenue, 7-Alarm, have all the fun. You could find me at Statement every Friday. It was so much fun. And then I'd land up at it was the best. And then I'd have like breakfast at 3 a.m. at Cat's Pajamas. The best burgers. Anyway, none of those things are there anymore.
Yeah.
They're all gone. But lived there. It was a really rad time in my life. And then I got a job opportunity, and this is how we get to Four Ways, in Kyalami. And that's why I dropped out of varsity the second time. It was for a company called Fantastic Racing.
Okay.
And they had these Formula 3 cars where they would allow individuals to come and drive for a very, very big, hefty price tag to come and drive these Formula 3 cars. And so because it was in Kyalami, I needed to be closer to Kyalami, and I moved into Fourways. Never look back.
Never look back. So the question about Fourways that I wanted to ask, so we briefly lived in Fourways, and I got onto the I Love Fourways group. I live in Blaigari now. Shout out to Blaigari. Yeah, up and comers. But I'm still on the I Love Fourways group, and I've got friends from PE that they've moved to Fourways, and they're on the group.
Entertainment.com.
It is if there was a reality show pitch, just I Love
Is this
Fourways.
Facebook or what are you talking?
On Facebook.
So I think I'm there anywhere between, I would say, 80 to 100,000 people that are on that group.
Yeah.
And the stuff that gets said, sometimes it's just the blasé, oh, I'm looking for someone to carpenter my, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. But sometimes it's wild. It's wild. It's like
some of the craziest.
And especially the anonymous posts.
Yeah.
It's like, hi, I've just caught my husband having an affair. What should I do? It's crazy. It's crazy.
But it's the craziest stuff. You also realize, especially like the anonymous posts, like there's a cool one. There's a lady now planning her husband's 50th or 40th, whatever. She's got 350 grand. She just wants to know how, like, where. I'm like, go to a travel agent. Like, don't ask randos on.
I will say this. So I've become friends with the people that run I Love. It's their business. Gustav, Jenna, and Carolyn, they run I Love Fourways. It's their passion. It's their heart and soul. Yeah. And every now and then, in between the crazy posts, in between the funny posts, in between the boring posts, there's posts where it's unreal how the community help each other.
Yeah.
And we sometimes will write stories about how someone will put up their hand. And I think that's the greatest lesson in this world is when you need help, put up your hand.
Yeah.
Like, I just need help. And they will. And everybody will just rally together to like do whatever needs to be. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Did you ever see the gold Renault story?
Tell me.
There was a girl driving down Winnie Mandela, which used to be William Nicol, and she had like an eye contact moment with the guy, and he was driving the sporty Renault Clio or Megane or something. And so she got home, she went on the I Love Fourways group, and she's like, listen guys, I know this is weird.
I do remember this.
Yeah, and then she typed in, this dude drives this gold Megane, whatever. The whole of Fourways. There was like over the next like 3 weeks, there was a huge like Megane meetup. Every Oka drives a Megane.
Did you wanted to meet him?
She wanted to go on a date. She was like, you're hot.
But like Oaks were editing their cars, like a Toyota Corolla, coloring in, writing Megane on the side so they could try and get a shot there. It just got so wild. But to your statement there, like it just became this really comical, funny thing that everyone in the neighborhood got like involved in, and
even from Blaigari, you were watching.
No. I was in Fourways. I used to be Lani.
But on that point, on community, like it's always about the ones and twos. It's never about how many followers you have or like the broader impact. Like I heard this once. Like if you watch a documentary on like Auschwitz and how many Jewish people got killed. So 6 million Jewish people got killed. And that's a hectic stat. But that doesn't move you emotionally.
No.
But watch a documentary and follow one Jewish person that survived. Follow their story. And you'll cry your eyes out for like 10 hours. Yeah. And it always comes down to the ones and twos in life and not just the mass.
You were so right. And it's so at the end of last year, where I get to travel a lot. I'm very thankful. Yeah. My work takes me to places. And then obviously my family as well, because we've got family.
I get a bit jelly sometimes.
Don't.
Brent's here now.
So every second year we go visit our kids and Andrew's ex-wife and his folks in the UK. So we'll make our way over there and we'll big family Christmas. The one year his dad got this massive house in Wales and it was like, 16 people all together. It does get a bit stuffy sometimes, but it's family and you get to just have the best of time. Whenever I'm away, when I have the ability to, I love movies. Like that's my escape. So even when I'm on holiday in a different country, I will go to the cinema. Like that,
nice.
I love it. I love the popcorn, the cold drinks. I mean, in London, you can go, the theatre that we went to, I think it was the Odeon or something. There, they serve dinner while you watch a movie. Like, it's crazy.
That's incredible.
And the end of last year, there was a movie that came out on, which was strange because in England, it was in all the mainstream theatres. Here, it was just Cinema Nouveau, so you couldn't watch it. But it was called One Life with Anthony Hopkins.
Okay.
And it's based on a true story, your ones and twos.
But are there videos on YouTube?
Oh,
Yeah.
So the video that you're talking about that went viral and what the movie is based on is Anthony Hopkins when he was really, really young. Not Anthony Hopkins, the character that he plays. Anthony Hopkins is an actor. What am I saying? The character that he plays in real life gave up absolutely everything to save these children from going to a concentration camp. And he just gave up all his time, all his energy, all his effort. And you watch it unfold in the movie. His wife, his house, he's a bit of a hoarder. And his wife is like, the family are coming over for Christmas or whatever. Clean up the house. Like, the house is a mess. There are papers everywhere. There's things everywhere. Your study's a mess. Clean it up. I'm going on holiday or whatever. You clean it up. And he starts cleaning up all this paperwork, whatever he was, a lecturer, whatever. He cleans up all the paperwork and he comes across a briefcase. And inside that briefcase is a book with all the names of all the kids. And he was like burning a lot of the stuff because he didn't need those records anymore. But he wanted to do something special with the book. So it goes through a lot of hands and it does whatever and it eventually gets to where it's going. And I'm not giving anything away in the movie. It's not a spoiler. It's in the trailer, so you'll know. And it's the viral clip that you're referring to. But they invited this man to a TV show of a recording to speak about whatever. He had no clue.
Yeah, he was sitting in the audience.
Sitting in the audience. He was invited as a guest to watch this interview.
Like an Oprah type show.
The setup already is making me emotional.
Yeah.
And they were speaking about concentration camps and saving people and how lives have been saved. And then they start referring to him and the camera pans to him in the audience. And they start telling his story about how he saved, I think it was 100, it was loads, whatever the number was. And then the camera pans out and they say, is there anybody in the audience that was saved by this man? And one by one, every single person around him stand up.
That's insane.
And they are only alive today because of that man. It's the ones and twos.
Yeah.
And then it matters. Then you like, that story matters.
Yeah, you must check that clip. It's insane, dude.
Watch the movie.
She said, Wumi sitting there. And then all of a sudden, everyone starts standing up.
I sobbed in the movie. I sobbed. It's such a good movie.
Dude, but even now, so I'm in this constant search of what is your legacy kind of thing. So I decided a couple of years ago, it's just like gin salesman. Also, just kind of like cruise through life a little bit, and then kind of had to start getting serious about things. And then I went on this whole pursuit of like, what do I do with my life, which I didn't actually know what I was going to do. And then fast forward, got kids now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got a son. I need to have my stuff together. And then like this whole pursuit of, at the time, I was just a gin salesman, I guess. That's it. And I was looking at my son, I was like, I don't want this guy to grow up one day and be like, my dad was on. He was the like, it's just and it's no shade on anybody's profession. I think probably dangerously close on treading on some toes. But like there was a moment I'm like, what is my legacy? Like what is the thing that you do? And like hearing stories like that, I'm like,
going to name drop now. I'm going to name drop badly.
Yeah.
So let's take it back to when I was younger, because we need to preface this as well. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. My parents did the best that they could, and they gave us a really cool life. And we would go to Uvongo in December, so we had enough money for like holidays, and so we did okay. Yeah. But we never had Mnet.
Yeah.
I had open time.
Yeah.
I would wait for 5 o'clock, and I would sometimes when it got to 7 or 5 minutes to 7, I would be like, hopefully they forget about us tonight. Like maybe they just leave us on for a little bit. And all my mates around me had DSTV, and like I'd go to their house and I'd be like, you have KTV 24 hours a day? Yeah. How does that work? It's just crazy.
So why are you guys even sleeping? You should be watching just KTV
crazy.
all day.
So I didn't have that. When I got home from school, I would watch SABC, which was first Very Mark adverts. As you got home from school eating your peanut butter sandwich, there would be Very Mark adverts.
Big green tea machine.
And then there would be Oprah.
Yeah.
I spent every single afternoon with Oprah. It was what I did. I watched her give stuff away. I watched her speak about psychology. Everything that she did, I watched. And fast forward to RAK Nominations. My mum was very proud when I was in the U. I was in all these great things. But my proudest moment was when I was featured in the O magazine.
Yeah.
So that for me was like
Nice.
Oprah.
Yeah.
Oprah.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't Oprah, it was her editor, but Oprah.
It's under the same brand, yeah.
It's there.
But I think to wrap it up, almost up, just because of time, I think what's important is no matter what success you'll reach in the world, you can be in Oprah magazine, you can be a gin salesman. If it's not inside, if you won't find the happiness and the peace inside, no job, no money,
Nothing.
no success will ever fulfill that gap in a way. Because it's not about that. It's not about the physical thing. It's not about being famous or making art or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think there is something inside of us all that we know we need to pursue, and that's going to make us happy, even if it's selling gin or whatever it is.
So I think I made a mistake in using that as a reference, because it's not actually got anything to do with what you do as a job or a living. It is you as a person.
Absolutely.
And the legacy that you lead. You could be a banker but still save 100 kids. Those two aren't related. So I think the mentality around it, or the logic behind it, is go like, flip, man, I want to do something really cool and make a contribution to society, kind of thing. And I mean, you're essentially pioneering the way.
Thank you very much, and that's very kind. But I need to end that last Oprah story.
Yeah.
Last year I got to meet Oprah. That's where I was going with that.
Nice.
Do you know, for a second, I remember reading the post about meeting Oprah, and then now when you said, it was an editor, I was like, so he didn't meet Oprah?
No, I didn't. No, that was 10 years ago. So last year I got to sit down with Oprah. She invited 4 journalists to lunch. One of the questions came around legacy. And after she'd built that school down in Vereniging for girls, she went back to America. This is many years ago. Maya Angelou was still alive. I think she's...
No. Okay.
So went back to America, and she said to Maya Angelou, "Is this my legacy? The school. Like, I'm so famous and I've done so many things. I've given away so many cars under chairs. But is the school my legacy?" And Maya said to her, "Legacy is not one thing. Legacy is everything you do. Legacy is every moment that you have in a day. Legacy is every conversation you have with every single person you meet, the emails, the standing in the queues. When you, I don't think she said this, I'm adding it in, but when you're at the petrol station, it's every interaction you have. It is everything you do. So whether you are whatever you do in your life, how you treat your kids, how you treat those around you, legacy is that business card that you leave. That impression with every single person.
What that's such a great place to end the show, but I really want to ask about Oprah now. where did you guys eat? Like, what's her vibe? Is it like a spur, or what's her thing?
No, so the invite said you can meet Oprah for lunch. It was at a conference, and we were taken to a separate room, and then I was like, we're gonna get lunch with Oprah, it's gonna be amazing. And we went to a separate room, and they were like, cool, you got 15 minutes with Oprah. And I was like, oh, it's like a media junket. Is this how we're gonna roll? And then we sat down, the 4 of us. Oprah sat about as close as that. I could touch her, actually. She sat across from me, and there was a journo, myself, and another journo, and then it was the PR person for her school and a couple of like people around her, because when you're that famous, you have people around you. And the first person said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so from this publication," and Oprah went, "I know that publication." And then the next person went, "I'm so-and-so from that publication," and she was like, And then I was cold and my voice sort of cracked. And I went, "I'm Brent Lindeque from The Good Things Guy." And she went, "The Good Things Guy? I love The Good Things Guy. You write all the good news story." And I was like, she knows me.
That's awesome.
She knows me. And then the next person went, "I'm fine." And Oprah went, "I know that." Not great for her.
I know that. Report, I know that.
She gave us, we only had 15 minutes, and we chatted and we chatted and we chatted. And the next minute, her assistant, whoever it was, came in and she said, "It's been 45 minutes. We need to end this interview now." And I recorded the whole thing. I've got the voice note. When we write articles, and I know we're going over time, I'm so sorry, but when we write articles, a good article is like 300 to 400 words, because you can digest that. As a reader, it's lekker. It's enough to read. 3 or 4 minutes, I'm over. The article that I wrote after I met Oprah, I think was 3,500 words. It was just, there was so much that she'd given to me. And it was an experience that certainly changed me. Meeting the world's greatest storyteller, teaching me that legacy is more than just one thing. There were so many lessons, and I carry them with me.
That's incredible, dude.
There's so many questions and like things that would be so cool to debate and unpack. And
Didn't you meet Ricky Lake?
do you
Ricky Lake?
No, man.
I remember Ricky Lake. She had a show.
Ricky Lake stuff was she was the perfect.
OG. Listen,
No.
disrespect to Oprah.
Ricky Lake was like a weird hybrid between like a Jerry Springer, but like it was like a respectable person's Jerry Springer. It's like
Dread lightning now.
No. It's the whole little. So you think she also always like, but you think that so and so shouldn't have taken your dog and gone.
And we have the dog in the back. It's coming out.
Don't shade, guys. She was before Oprah. That's not true. That's not true.
So the talk show legacy though, from Ricky Lake to Felicia in South Africa. Do you remember Felicia? Man, and Nolene.
Sure.
Nolene, whose surname no one could ever say.
Would you ever do a TV show like Host Your Own? Would you want that vibe? Like
I think that is where I might go.
Yeah.
I think I would love to be, and like I wouldn't copy him completely, although we do share similar traits. But Graham Norton, like I would totally.
You would kill a Graham Norton.
I would love to sit on a chair and have friends and celebrities and people doing good, and we all have a glass of wine and we just sit like this and talk. I think it would be so rad,
dude.
I put that into the universe.
Yeah.
2025, I would like to be Brent Lindeque.
Brent Lindeque and
The Brent
Friends.
Lindeque show. And every time it comes on TV, I want Mia to go, it's Lindeque!
That would be, as you said it, like, that would be.
I would love
we
that.
We could see it happening. Well,
I love that. Thank you.
I'm already tuned
Let's
in.
all put it out into the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you ever need guests, sit on the big red couch. Anyways, is that.
Yeah,
have you asked all the things you wanted to ask?
I've asked all the things. I learned so much. You do incredible stuff, dude. I'm such a big fan of positive news because the world is it runs on, because we know it gets clicks. It's the sensation. It's all this one backstab this one. And you're just doing something so fresh, man.
I'll end
thanks for
with
that.
this.
Hit me.
I'll hit you. I mean, I won't hit you, but I'll hit you.
Yeah, don't hit me.
That's not good news.
Hit me with the story.
So the one thing that I've always stayed true to, and it's been such a beautiful thing for all the journalists that work for the publication, because they've all come from other publications that require them to, I don't want to say be clickbaity, but to be click conscious.
Yeah.
To be click conscious. And the one thing that I remind each and every one of them often when we get together in our editorials, whatever, is clicks don't matter. What matters is that your story will inspire hope, will make someone proud, or will make someone laugh. And it's just one person.
Yeah.
That's all you need is just one person. If one person feels that way, then your job is done. It doesn't matter how many people read your article. And I think because of that, it's written with so much love and passion, and I hope we're not clickbaity. And our readership, they come back. They keep coming back. So it must work.
Yeah. Like the tears that heal the soul, what do you call it, is healing medicine. Your articles are like healing the heart.
Yeah. But I think as we end off, there will be a biological look into this story about the tears going out the iron back.
Maybe I was lying. I don't know. I'm sure. Don't quote me.
Next week we'll have a medical doctor on you. Listen, Brent Lindeque talks a bunch of shit. Tears are bad for you. Stop crying.
I hope not.
Oh wait! I had one.
Go for it.
Go. Got one last thing. So Kiara, our PA, is she's taking us to Pride apparently in 2 or 3 weeks. She's trying to educate us as to tragically straight guys. You should see the decor in our office. That's what this is me and my business partner Graham. But wanted to ask, have you been? Any tips? What should I know?
Okay, so Pride is absolutely epic. Pride in Johannesburg / South Africa, I think it's very sad that it is shadowed by international pride, which is June, July. That's great for America, and they started a revolution. But our pride story is so much more powerful. It was in the early 90s, I think it was 1991, I might get it wrong. Being gay in South Africa was completely illegal. And thank you to the ANC at the time, who were fighting for everybody's equal rights. They put together a manifesto that said they would make being now LGBTQIA plus part of the Constitution. And for the first time, there was hope that you wouldn't be jailed or murdered or harassed or bullied for being who you are.
Yeah.
And there were a few people who took to the first Pride March that happened in October that year. And they were so scared to show their faces because it was still illegal. They put brown paper bags over their heads. And they took to the streets of Johannesburg, and they were marching. And alongside them with thousands of people that had come to support them, allies that were there to say, we are for you, we are with you, thank you for being so brave. And at some point during the march, I get a big lump in my throat, the heavens opened. And there was no way for them to hide their faces anymore. The brown paper bags had to come off. And they took the brown paper bags off, and nobody was arrested. And it was the start of a beautiful journey in our country. And in 1994, it was then written into the Constitution. And in 1996, South Africa became the first place in the world to give a gay person rights. Like, that is a beautiful story. Why are we celebrating June, July when we've got so much history in October? So there's your first thing. The second thing is we no longer need to be sad about anything that comes to LGBT. Have the best bloody time. Go there. It's a big adventure. Dress up. Be who you are. Celebrate everybody around you. If the prides are the most festive things in this country, because it's where people can really truly celebrate who they are. Another quick story before we end. So sorry, but Graham. Gosh, I'm going to get his name wrong now. It's just gone over my head.
You already spoke about him.
No, that's
I just want to say shout out to the Rainbow Nation.
That's terrible.
That's also why we're Rainbow Nation. Shout out to Pride Month.
The Futurist. He's on my Facebook. He's a really good friend.
Graham
The Futurist.
Smith. we can insert.
Can someone Google this?
We can insert his.
He's a friend.
Clearly, he's not a friend.
No, he's a friend. He's just done the Otter. He's done the Otter run. Futurist, Graham, South Africa.
We can put in his surname on the screen. Graham Futurist.
Yeah, he's going to... Codrington, Graham Codrington. He's going to completely murder me because I forgot your surname. I'm so sorry, I love you. He was part of a church, and there was a Pride March happening at Melrose Arch, and this is why I met him. This is the first story I ever wrote about him. He was part of a church. He was part of like the big leaders in the church, and him and his wife said to the church, Pride's coming up. It's around the corner from Melrose Arch. We as a congregation are going to take to the Pride streets where they are marching, and we're going to hold up signs, and you can choose whatever signs you want it to be, but it has to be positive. And at that Pride, they were standing holding signs going, if your father doesn't love you, I will be your father. If your mother's disowned you, I will be your mom. And there was a massive sign that plenty of the churchgoers held that said, I'm so sorry for what the church has done to you. Like, beautiful things out of South Africa, beautiful people, good news stories.
Damn, that's incredible.
That's a bomb to drop it on right there. But yeah, Brent, absolutely amazing to have you. Thank you for making the time and trekking all the way from Alberton, then to Four Ways, then all the way to London.
Yeah, good luck. We'll send out a thoughts and prayers SMS just for everyone living in Four Ways. And we know it's tough out there.
Shout out Four Ways!
But yeah, we appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate you and the work you do, and can't wait to see you go on and do amazing more things.
Yeah, your TV show next year, check it out, 2025, the Brent Lindeque TV show.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Peace.